Hello, welcome to this episode of PNB is Listening. My name is Stella Gonzalez. I work for the Pacific Northwest Ballet, and today I'm here to introduce you to my co-fellows of the Seattle Arts Fellowship. The Seattle Arts Fellowship is a partnership between Pacific Northwest Ballet, Classical King, Seattle Symphony, and the Seattle Opera. It provides a year-long fellowship opportunity for a BIPOC rising leader in the arts. So I am one of this year's fellows. I work for the community education and marketing departments, and I just wanted to give some space for you all to introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Lorin Green. I am the Education and Community Engagement Fellow for the Seattle Symphony.
Hi, I'm Myah Rose Paden. I'm the Classical King Announcing Fellow at Classical King 98.1.
Hi, my name is Tony Oteromarrero. He, him pronouns. I am with the Seattle Opera, working in the costume, hair, and makeup department.
Yes, so the fellowship is a year-long paid opportunity, like I said, for young BIPOC aspiring leaders in the arts. I I'm so honored to have you all here today. It's around, I believe, around the ninth or 10th month of our fellowship. So we've all been working together. How the fellowship is structured is that we work in our respective organizations, in our respective departments, but we also have programs through the fellowship. So we meet local arts leaders, which have been extremely helpful in getting our feet down into this particular community of the greater arts community here in Seattle. And we also get comp tickets to all of our partner organizations. So I've been lucky enough to be able to go to the opera and to the symphony for free as well, which has really broadened my horizons in terms of what art is. And we also have cohort meetings, so spending time to check in with each other, see what our other fellows are up to. My first question for all of my co-fellows are what do you do particularly in your position, and how may I ask how did you get to find out about the arts fellowship?
I can start. So I am the Classical King Announcing Fellow. I am on the radio 3 nights a week. And that has been quite the journey because I didn't start in radio or have any sort of radio background. I just graduated from the University of Michigan in vocal performance and opera performance with my master's degree in spring of 2022. And the application for this fellowship fell out of the sky and into my lap. And I decided to take the opportunity. I had done a podcast previously, briefly, of my own, and I did an internship doing social media at the Kennedy Center. And those were basically my only real requirements or my only qualifications for this position. And gratefully, they let me in. And now I am a radio host.
Yeah, so for me, when I was doing my master's in flute performance at the University of New Mexico, I was doing a lot of other nonprofit internships and other types of fellowships. And this was one of the programs that one of the board members of the nonprofit I worked at pushed me towards doing. I was also at the time looking for doctoral programs to go into. University of Washington was already on my list. And so it kind of worked out perfectly that I was able to begin my doctoral degree here at the University of Washington, and while also pursuing this fellowship. And so within the fellowship, I work within the education and community engagement department at the Seattle Symphony. So all of our events, I have some hand in helping with either coordination or execution of some sort. And I have main projects that I myself have curated and am working on. And yeah, just other opportunities that come with working at a large organization like a symphony.
All right, it's my turn. Sorry, I had to take that off of mute. Let's see. Well, I am working at the Seattle Opera doing the fellowship, which has been really fantastic. For me, this opportunity came because formerly I was working as a director of operations for a hair salon and beauty academy downtown Seattle. And sadly, like most places, it shut down because of COVID. So I was a little bit lost in what I was gonna do after that, and I picked up a job that I wasn't super excited about. And a former coworker saw this opportunity and told me about it. And I looked at it and I go, "Wow, wouldn't that be incredible?" But I'll never be the person who gets that. Like, there's going to be a million other people that are better qualified than I am. And um, it was up to the very last minute that I actually, then 2 nights before, applied, and I wrote a big essay, um, and I got the job. So I'm pretty lucky. I get to work with incredible designers, with incredible people. I get to be around shoes and costumes and jewelry all day. So that's my experience so far. Yeah.
No worries, Tony. I also submitted my application like the day of, and maybe found out about the whole fellowship the week of the deadline. Late crew.
Tony, I love that you mentioned how you had this fear about not even getting accepted into the fellowship, but then you took that risk, you took that chance, and you just decided to apply. Because I guess my background is that I was last spring on my final year of undergrad, all the way in Maine, and I grew up in Redmond, which is the east side in the suburb of Seattle. But I was just looking for any paid art opportunity I could get to go back home and work here. And I am really coming from a visual arts background. I've done a lot of works with art museums and the like. And I had heard of PNB. I actually attended their shows growing up through Teen Tix because that was the only way I could actually afford to go to a PNB performance. And one of my friends went through PNB school growing up, but I never thought I could work for the ballet, work for performing arts, simply because the extent of my knowledge wasn't as deep in that industry. So I took the risk as well. And for me, I actually chose my particular fellowship with PNB because my organization's fellowship was housed underneath the community education department. I was really passionate about arts outreach, civic engagement, and the like. And I remember looking at the positions that you, Tony, and Myah currently have, and thinking, whoever's gonna get those, like, they're gonna be very interesting because I could not be in those positions. Like, being in the artistic side in costumes and makeup seemed very stressful to me. And even though I love doing my makeup on myself, like the pressure to do it someone else seemed really great. And then for radio announcing, that that was completely out of the question for me. So I'm glad we all fell into the spots that we did. And I just wanted to ask, what is the most valuable takeaway you've gained from this fellowship thus far? For me, it's the friendships I've gotten from you all. That is something I consistently emphasize to my supervisors here at PNB is I met lifelong friends. That's not the goal, but that is what I've gained personally. And also serious connections with people here in the arts world in Seattle. Like, I can't stop thinking about our meetings that we've had with Art Noir. I remember calling my friends from college after our meetings with them, with Vivian especially, and thinking, oh my gosh, I just met my hero. I just met someone who literally created my dream of a model of an organization, especially visual arts, where it's directly divesting back into those arts communities. So for me, it's not as much as the hard skills I've learned in the actual job is what I value the most out of this fellowship, but seriously, the people.
I absolutely agree. I mean, first and foremost, the friendship that I have made, particularly with all of you, but especially with both Stella and Lorin, that the time that we spend outside of the fellowship proper, spending time with each other, but also we cut our teeth against each other because everyone in this cohort is so brilliant and so different and brings different perspectives to all of the different lives that we live. And it's been so enriching just being able to be in that type of environment with you three. And also we go out into the community together and we see the shows together, and we go to PNB shows and to Seattle Opera shows and to Symphony shows. And I, as a transplant into Seattle, it's been a really great way. I mean, it's a great way to get introduced to a new city, because I feel like I can call Seattle my home now that I have sort of a foundational understanding of where I belong here. I've found a little niche corner for myself, and I think that this fellowship has allowed me also to explore talents that I hadn't had the opportunity or the freedom to explore before. When I was studying in classical music, I know there wasn't time or ability for me to be able to go and see what it would be like to be a radio host. And I discovered that I really enjoy it, and I'm pretty good at it. So I'm grateful for this fellowship for sort of throwing me into a totally different path, and for me to myself sort of for taking this opportunity in the first place.
And Myah, can you? Oh, I apologize. Myah, can you remind us and the audience where you are coming from or where you call home? And I guess this also connects with what Lorin might.
Yeah, so I
consider.
mean, I'm originally from I'm originally from Columbus, Georgia, which is sort of like a southern country town on the Chattahoochee River. And then did my undergrad at the University of Georgia and did my graduate education at the University of Michigan, where I was from 2019 to 2022. And then I just came here.
Yeah, like Myah, I am also from Georgia. I'm from Augusta, Georgia specifically. And I did my undergrad there. And then I did my master's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which I mentioned earlier. And coming here is very different than both of those areas. And so it can be a little overstimulating at first. And it feels like you lost your footing of what you thought you knew. So having the cohort, especially like the people, and to be able to say, oh, let's go do this together, let's go do this. And especially with Myah also being new to this area, we were discovering a lot of things together and just getting the new vibe, which I think is really important when you're moving, especially being a person of color moving to a new area. That is also very important to find your people, to feel super comfortable in a new area. So that's been a big plus for me with the fellowship. I will have to say, the being able to see so many different shows within the community has been amazing, because these shows are expensive. So having the opportunity to just have access to them, that's something that we may not have been able to have if we weren't in this fellowship. So that was also a really big plus, and that also is another social thing for us to do outside of when we're working. And then for me in particular, my team here at the Seattle Symphony, my education team, is phenomenal, and I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to work with, to do this. So it's really the people, absolutely, that make this so special.
All right. For me, going back to like what Stella had mentioned, I didn't think that I was going to get this opportunity, not because I didn't have the ability to direct, because I was in a leadership position already in in hair and makeup, but I just never really had any experience in theater. Although growing up, I um, was never really guided towards any specific job. My parents wouldn't say like, "Oh, you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be a lawyer." My parents were just like, "Oh, you're going to get a job as soon as you can." And so my first job was Disney World, being Pluto. And so I got an opportunity to be in like this costume department, like probably one of the biggest costume departments in the world, which was incredible, and be a character. And soon after that, I knew that like I needed to go to school and figure it out. And I didn't have any money, so I joined the military, and that led me here to the Pacific Northwest. I started working in the hair salon soon after that, and I stayed there for a long time. And I used to come to shows and think, man, what if my life would have ever turned out that I could have been a part of that, like that part of that world, like the Little Mermaid says. And I'm in it. Like this fellowship has given me the opportunity to be the leader that I can be in, this world, and also learn all of these new things from these incredible people. The three of you have been like instrumental also, as well as, there's been some challenges on this fellowship. I lost the director, which is the direct mentor, back in December, like in the middle of my fellowship, and just really truly the cohort meetings and meeting the leaders in the arts in Seattle, and really my team here at the Seattle Opera, who have really rallied to make sure that I get the best out of this fellowship. That has been for me one of the biggest takeaways. Just not give up on your dream. When I was applying for the fellowship, I knew how to answer XYZ questions, but I did not know how to answer, what, I don't know what I was about to say. Sorry about that.
Don't apologize, Tony.
I got nervous there for a second.
That's okay.
No, but I totally understand where you're going with that, because I also moved into a trade part of the fellowship. So it's sort of interesting the way the fellowship is set up, in that like there's arts administration, but also there's the jobs that me and Tony are doing as an announcer and as a part of the costume, hair and makeup team. Are very trade based, very craft based, and things that you can't just sort of like, there's really no way of doing them unless you're in those worlds and in those jobs, just doing the work. And in the radio world, they tell me constantly that most people in this job tend to sort of fall into it, and there's no training. And so it was really a sort of interesting sort of world of just sort of jumping into a totally different way of doing something adjacent to what I do. I always use my voice. I'm a singer, I'm a vocalist, but like I've never sort of been so particular about the way in which I present things to other people in this particular trade and craft. So I understand coming in sort of from like the back door of a trade and finding yourself flourishing is really special.
And see, this is exactly what I mean when like I say these group of people like really got your back. Thank you for pulling me out of that. I know exactly. I remembered what I was going to say. Thanks to you. So I just think I knew how to answer the questions when it came to like leadership situations, right? But when it came to everything else, I was just talking about what I loved and what I was passionate about. And when you talk about what you're passionate about, it just comes naturally. It's not something that you have to think about when it comes to, trying to get a job. So if you're really passionate, I believe, about, being this world that like is different than it's adjacent, but a little bit different than what you're currently doing. Just speak from your heart. And I think, I don't know, somebody saw something special, and I got to be here and be part of this incredible journey.
And I really always find it so pleasurable to hear about your journey in particular, Tony, just because I feel as if Lorin, Myah, and I, we came straight from school. We had kind of the quote unquote stereotypical internships or work experience you might have to land a fellowship like this. But you have had so much work experience outside of being in the performing arts world. And that's something I do like to highlight about the fellowship, is that there is no prerequisite except for being a person of color. There is no prerequisite in actually applying and being a part of it, because I didn't understand, I guess, I didn't understand my own personal privilege coming from school, but so many fellowships and so many opportunities in the arts require that you have a degree. And also a lot of these fellowships are feeders straight from graduation. So a lot of them even require that you have graduated recently or are currently in school. All the internships I've had throughout college require that you were registered as a student while you apply to those internships. And that's a huge barrier, is to have that requirement if you want to even apply to a job. So I love hearing about your story, Tony. And also for me, I'm so glad we're emphasizing the camaraderie of our fellowship, because such a core memory to me was really feeling lost, I guess, after graduation, and feeling like I had almost regressed because I had come back home. I had started to live back home after 4 years of living on the East Coast. And such a core memory to me was me bringing all of my childhood friends, like my friends from I was 12 to 13 years old, to Seasons Canon, Lorin bringing all of her friends, Myah bringing all their friends, and the three of us creating this like super group in the orchestra section at McCaw Hall, and us just cheering so crazy. And Seasons Canon was, I will say this forever and ever, was a piece of art that changed my life fundamentally. It made me genuinely enjoy the artistic product that we have here at PNB. And I'm so glad I was able to share that opportunity with the three of y'all, and especially like building that camaraderie, like I said. And I do think that friendship building, that seeking other people out, is something that is pretty intrinsic, at least from my perspective, in my opinion, intrinsic to being a person of color in a space, in a workspace that is dominated by people who don't look like us. Like don't I talk to sometimes my white peers, and for them, like, this is their passion, but this is their job. But the friendship aspect isn't the number one, while it is for me. And I guess I wanted to ask you all what your opinion is on what how your identities, especially because I believe we can't not talk about it because the fellowship is catered towards um, BIPOC folks. Like, what does it mean to be a BIPOC emerging leader in the arts? What does it mean to work in this particular industry as someone who is a person of color? And I'll start off with Myah, just because you had mentioned how people say they fall into radio announcing, but that could also, to kind of play devil's advocate, like people can fall into a particular job if they do come from a privileged background. Like, I'm excited, and and I love hearing about how Classical King has supported you throughout this journey of you becoming a radio announcer, because it's not like you just started this job and were on the radio instantly. Like, they created a structure for
No,
you, and yeah.
you're totally right. And I think the sort of key word in this whole conversation that we're starting to have right now is access. Um, the majority of the people who work at Classical King are white and live in this area, or maybe have grown up here their entire lives. And the idea of falling into radio is not something that even was a concept to me. I mean, even if I take a step back, the idea of falling the way that I felt like I did into singing opera isn't something that I ever considered, because those pathways of access weren't necessarily available to me. And if they were, I wasn't, the knowledge of them wasn't there. And so the access was being blocked. And I think for a lot of BIPOC people, a lot of people of color, a lot of Black, Indigenous people, we have, there are the pathways to accessing these types of spaces often have to be through these very specified programs that are targeting or looking for us, and to bring in that sort of diversity, to bring in that difference. And it can feel a little bit tokenizing, actually, on one hand, because it's like we can't get the support that we need often in the regular fellowships. And even if we could, it's very difficult for us to find them or to be a part of those. I don't think I would ever really have considered going into radio unless someone pulled me in otherwise. But I didn't think that it was ever something that was on my radar, or something I could do, or that could be a possibility for me. And the same for opera, same for singing. It just never was something I could consider as a possibility. I was like, that's very cool, but that's not for me. I could never see myself in it. And so I think it's really valuable for me to be that representation, but also to help be a part of building the infrastructure for more people who look like us, and to come into these types of environments and feel safe and secure, because it has been a learning experience for both us and for the organizations we're a part of, and for Seattle Opera, the parent organization, putting this fellowship together. How do you create a program that is specifically for BIPOC individuals to gain this experience when the system that we live in is still predominantly white, the arts world that we live in is still predominantly white? How do we still give support to those people and not just feel like we're dropping them into a sea of, systematic oppression? Say go. And so that sort of learning process has been an interesting road as well. So it's a bunch of different things, but I think at the core of it is just access, giving people the ability to even make the decision that they want to be a part of this, or be able to say, I want to be a part of this, I want to learn that experience. That's kind of what this program has given me in a lot of ways.
I keep hitting the microphone above my name and not the correct microphone. So sorry for like the dead space. I definitely have to agree with everything Myah just said. Going back to growing up and not really being told, not being just having like, you got to go to work, you just have to work to make money, and that's it. Like, it doesn't matter what sector you're in. And really having this like passion for the arts and passion for theater. And when I was working at the salon, I would have clients give me tickets, and these were very wealthy white clients, and it was wonderful. I mean, like, I am grateful, but I never thought that I actually would have even the capacity or the access to be able to be a part of this. So, whenever I would go to the opera during the time that I would get like free tickets, I would be in this world that I just never thought I would have access to. Being surrounded by predominantly all white people, and I didn't think this was going to be an opportunity for a little guy from Puerto Rico to be able to have. So I'm super grateful that this opportunity for BIPOC community became available. And I do understand, that I am light skinned, but I definitely am Puerto Rican, born and raised, and definitely had to struggle of coming to a country where I wasn't wanted, and was told to go back to my country and learn how to speak English because I had an accent, and so I didn't think that any of this was for me, and I thought, as soon as I can, I'm moving back to Puerto Rico. And as much as I love my island, I'm just grateful that opportunities like this have arose in these days, so that someone like me could have an opportunity and access, like Myah said, to be able to be a part of this world that I just thought was unreachable.
Yes, and I relate to that so much. And being in community education at PNB, I feel as if this fellowship is a two-way street. I'm being given this opportunity by Pacific Northwest Ballet to expand my resume, my career. I am getting paid for it, which is, and also, like, compared to a lot of other entry level arts jobs I applied for, this was the best paying one. So just even that is getting a paid opportunity is huge. But I give back to my organization. I think something that I think about a lot is that our community education team is amazing. We do really tangible work, especially with our Seattle Public School partners. But out of our team is 3 people, and out of our core team, I am the only person of color. So sometimes when we go out to the schools and I think of this one story of this one student who just did not want to dance with us. And I asked him, why don't you want to dance? And he goes, I don't know if you'll understand, but I'm Islander and I'm forced to dance at all my family functions. And I don't want to dance because it feels like I'm back being forced to dance in front of my grandparents. And I told him, I looked at him, I said, I was put into lessons and I was forced to dance in front of my family too. I get it. Like, I'm Islander. So I think so something like that, that student that would have never felt that connection, never felt seen if I wasn't put in this position like I am, like that I am here right now. I see we have a huge Filipino community here in Seattle, and with our community outreach work, like I'll really get to talk to them. I really get to tell them that there is space for us in the ballet. I tell them about people like Angelica who play Giselle and is Filipina too, and it makes me feel so proud to see like someone
And
like
was
me on stage.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
And gorgeous, especially with Jonathan, like such a good Giselle.
That was
And
actually a transcendental performance.
Yeah.
yes, amazing. And sometimes with our dance chant students, I'll hear Tagalog in the Phelps Center, and I'll just chuckle to myself because they don't know I can understand them, but I fully understand everything that they are saying to each other. So those experiences of being seen, being recognized are so important in our arts organization as well. That I think is what I'm most thankful to about this fellowship on top of the friendships as well. So I believe it's about time to wrap up. I wanted all of us to give an opportunity of maybe where the PNB audience can find us or see where the work that we are doing is shown. Lorin is no longer here in the podcast recording with us, but I did want to mention that she also has her own podcast called Relative Pitch, and it's amazing. I'm probably one of the biggest fans. I will text her after every episode drops. It is a highlight of my commute into the city, and she's doing amazing work with her education and outreach team at the Seattle Symphony. And you can find me doing running different programs at PNB, especially the sensory friendly season. That is the work I am probably the most proud of as well.
And as for me, you can hear my voice Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. on Classical King or on king.org. If you're not in the Seattle area, if you happen to be streaming online, we do that too. But yeah, and then also aside from that, I freelance as an opera singer. So if you're ever around and you want to hear a little singing, I sing with Opera on Tap pretty regularly. We have events in bars around town, and also we do events in other places as well. And on top of that, that is pretty much it right now. Oh, I'm giving a pre-concert
Freelance.
lecture for for at
Freelance.
Seattle
You won
Symphony.
the Maya
Yeah,
being too humble. Maya won a big opera competition in Seattle, and we were there to cheer them on. But that is not just simply freelancing.
it was very exciting. I was one of the finalists for the Metropolitan Opera competition, the LaFont competition for the district round. And then I was able to go and compete at the regional round last month, and it was an honor. So it was really wonderful. And I had cohort support there as well.
And as for me, you can find me here at the Seattle Opera running around, probably with one of these on and like a clipboard. Looking like my head is cut off like a chicken without a head. But we have our show Traviata coming up very soon. It's going to be super exciting. And other than that, I do volunteer a lot around the city. So you might find me somewhere being kooky. Feel free to say hello and ask me anything you like, or probably coming out of a bar in Capitol Hill having some tequila. So that's me.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. I love you all.
Thank you, Stella, so much for setting this up. And thank you, PNB, for just being a great organization. Honestly, it's one of my favorite organizations in town for sure, for all of the work that you guys are doing and just all of the amazing art that comes out of Pacific Northwest Ballet.
Absolutely. Thank you.